Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Instant Replay. I'm your host, Dave Garner. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching this on January the 21st, on Monday, you are watching live, and we thank you and welcome you to the program today. If you're watching Tuesday through Thursday, you're watching an encore replay of the same program, but nonetheless, still great information right here on the Instant Replay as we bring you through. Again, right here live on FYNTV.com, and as always, we're highlighting and promoting student-athletes in a positive way. We appreciate you guys being with us. This is the only live hour, weekly hour of sports talk here in our North Georgia area online. We appreciate you guys being with us on this MLK Day. Kids are out of school around the area. Some businesses are closed. A lot of folks are still working hard, though. So regardless of the day, we hope that you'll take a moment at some point to reflect on the accomplishments of Dr. King and what he meant to our, regardless of your political affiliation. We hope that you'll take a moment to reflect on Dr. King and his contributions. Of course, we won't get into all the politics stuff. That's for BKP. He just came off of 2 hours, of that. We appreciate you guys being with us. How many of you last night caught the lunar eclipse? Man, that was something. Our very own Luther Kinsey behind the glass starting out this morning. Josh Ross with us as well on the controls. And Luther got some pretty good shots of the lunar eclipse on Sunday night. So, and you were showing me the pictures, man. I mean, it helps to be a photographer when you have the right equipment, you got the right lens, man. I mean, it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I'd forgotten all about it, and I was laying there in bed listening to the radio, and they mentioned it, and I jumped up, ran out, and just my sleep clothes, my pajamas basically, and it was cold. Right. So I didn't stay out there long, so I only took like 3 or 4 just to that one little segment. I didn't try to stay and get, some of the other shots as it advanced on. I bet those would have been cool, but
right.
I got a pretty good one. I'll take it.
You had a pretty interesting weekend. We're gonna talk about the wrestling here in a moment. Got to stay down in Macon. Went down to the state wrestling duels tournament and had a lot of fun there. We're gonna dive in to what all went down on the map over the weekend, and we're going to really dive into region hoops and take a look at the standings because we have really hit the stretch run here of the high school basketball season. Really, every team in our area with just a few games left to play, we're going to have a lot of answers possibly by the end of this week as to who's going to fall where in the pecking order going into region tournaments and into the postseason. So it should be a lot of fun. And Luther, I tell you, a lot of things to talk about. Last week we focused on the Dragons and Dragonettes, but a couple of big games this week. Tuesday night, Gilmer and Pickens. We're going to talk about that later in the show, but that's going to be a big game.
It is, and of course you add rivalry on top of it,
Right.
Last week the Lady Cats played Heritage at home, and I'm over there on the side, taking my photographs for Facebook and things of that nature, and I hear my name. And I turn around and the entire Nets team is sitting there. I said, well, hey, ladies, what are y'all doing? She said, we're pulling for Heritage. So they were there rooting on Heritage. Of course, Lady Cats did win that game. And, and I'm like, why are y'all pulling for Heritage? And she says, well, if Heritage wins and we win, we move above the Lady Cats of Gilmer.
Right.
So the tensions are high, already between these, and then you put region implications, not complications. Well, that too, but you put the implications in that. How bad Pickens wants to move above Gilmer just for bragging rights. It's going to be one awesome game. Yeah. I cannot wait to be there.
Right, and there was a lot of talk about that. I mean, there are some folks I've heard chatting in the community about the fact that there were some Pickens players that were cheering against Gilmer the other night, even though a lot of those girls know each other. Some of them even have played AAU ball together. So there were some folks that were trying to distance themselves, saying, well, I wasn't cheering for Gilmer, So it's all in fun. It's all play, but it won't be play on Tuesday night when those two meet, that's for sure, especially in that girls game because there is a lot to play for. We're going to talk about that later in the show as we dive into the region standings because things are really tight right now in Region 6-4A, especially on the girls' side. Let's dive in and let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. We don't talk a lot about the NFL on this show, and for good reason. I know BKP shies away from it altogether. So we're going to go ahead and knock this out because it's not really what we do here on the instant replay and with Team FYN Sports. But let's talk about the NFL playoffs, because two very good championship games going on Championship Sunday, both overtime games coming down to a final play. And on the AFC side, it was the Patriots back in the Super Bowl for the third straight year as they toppled the Chiefs on an overtime touchdown, 37-31. And on the NFC game, the Rams and the Saints. Now, I will say this, and Luther, I want to get your comments, and then we'll bring you out here in front of the glass too. As a former official, I know that a lot of folks are talking about that no call towards the end of regulation there when the Saints had the ball. Rams apparent. I say apparent. I mean, it was pass interference, or crown to the helmet, whatever you want to call there, did not get called. And a lot of folks are saying that really determined the outcome of the ball game. And I wouldn't disagree with that. But at the same time, there was still a lot of football to be played after that. And there were some things that happened in that ball game that really didn't come down to officiating. I'm not saying that the call didn't cost the Saints the game, but ultimately it happened in regulation. The Saints still were able to kick a field goal after that, take a lead with a minute and a half to play. Rams go down, they hit a field goal to put it into overtime. None of that may have happened. I understand that. But still, in overtime, the Saints win the toss, have the opportunity, like the Patriots did, to take the opening drive, go down, score, win the game. They didn't do that. Breeze's arms hit as he's throwing. Rams intercepted. They end up going to field goal range, 57-yard field goal by Hecker, and the Rams go to the Super Bowl. My point is, and I know a lot of folks are debating about it last night, even this morning, especially Saints fans. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a Falcons fan. I don't like the Saints. It is what it is. There were still ample opportunities for the Saints to win that ball game, even after that point. And that's the point that I've been trying to make with folks. But I want to bring you in as our head of officiating. You can be our Mike Pereira, because I know you were a longtime official there. For the folks that don't know that are watching the show, Luther Kinsey, of course, was a white hat and an official for a long time. But first of all, your take on the call, and then your thoughts moving beyond that in the ball game.
Right, well, Luther, I like to throw a flag on his.
Here we go. BKP.
I was in the background. I know it's danger. I want to throw a flag on your but still. You said but still like 9 times, but still. He ran him over, but still. What are you talking about, but still? There's a lot of game to play, but still. Hey, I'm trying to be nice about it, Dave. Yeah. But still, using your words, but still. You know what? That call is made. Boom. They're right there. 3-4 yard line, first down. They run off 3 plays. Rams have no timeouts left. The clock's down to like 7 seconds. If they don't get the touchdown, they chip one in like an extra point. Clock's got 2 seconds. You kick off. They're throwing the ball back and forth, hoping to lateral it in. So there's your but still.
But how do you know all that's going to happen?
But yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of things that have to happen there. There can be a turnover. There can be a block kick. I mean, there can be a run back, like you said. And let's say the Saints maybe go ahead and score on the next play, and they leave the Rams a minute and a half to go down and score again, and the Rams put it into overtime anyway. That's my point, is there's so many different scenarios that can play out from that point that you can't just assume.
But we don't know the scenarios from that point, because we've got a zebra standing on the sideline looking square at it that says, hey, I don't know.
Right. Exactly. But my point is, and I'm not defending the call in any way, I'm just saying that there's a lot of things that could have, but still happened.
Oh, you and your
after that. You know what I mean? That's my point. You can't assume a touchdown. You can't assume anything. I'm a Falcon fan. 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, I assumed a 28-3 lead at the end of the third quarter would be good enough to win a championship.
I wish the Rams well. They don't deserve to be there. I wish them well. I know as a team, I would not want to be going into this game in the next 2 weeks.
Right.
I would not want to go into this game. Would you not like to see the matchup? Now, I know we've got the Georgia player, Gurley, right? Mm-hmm. He's going to be there. I know there's a lot of people in Atlanta that are happy that Saints are not going to be in their house, could win a Super Bowl in their house. I understand all that. That's got nothing to do with whether you make the call or not.
Oh, yeah, absolutely,
okay?
yeah.
But that being said, would you not have loved to seen the Brady matchup in the Drew Brees.
Oh yeah, I think there would have been a lot of things, and removing myself obviously from the emotional part of it, and that's not even playing into my argument at all. But you're right. I mean, I think that would have been a great matchup to see. Two Hall of Famers, going at it. Two head coaches that have won championships. I mean, there's a lot of storylines there, but I think there's also a lot of other storylines too with this other game, because you've got two. If you're looking at it from a local standpoint, you've got two Georgia Bulldog running backs and Sony Michel, for the Patriots, and you've got, of course, Todd Gurley of the Rams. Sean McVay coming back to his hometown. I had the opportunity to call him in high school when he was at Marist as a quarterback playing for a state championship, and now he's the head coach of the Rams. So he's coming home. I mean, there's a lot of side stories, but yeah, you're right. I think that would have been an awesome matchup, a favorable matchup. I don't think anybody in Atlanta want to see that, of course, but you're right. I mean, it would have absolutely been
missing a holding call. All right, there's a couple of calls that are, but. This guy was squared up, cleaned his clock, cleared him up, did not turn on the ball, absolutely nothing. Luther, go ahead and answer the question you were asked. My
Hold on, wait a minute. What was the question? I don't even remember the question anymore.
We appreciate BKB coming in, but still, I've got to answer. No, we always appreciate BKB coming in. He's got insight that, as a non-sports reporter and a news guy more, he sees things a little different than I will as a former official, or you will as an
he just likes to rile it up, though. I mean, he likes to rile it up, but that's what he does.
Yeah, but still, that was really good. BKP, we appreciate you. In all honesty, I want to get the monkey out of the room first. Terrible call, and it falls right in line with the inconsistencies of the NFL officials all year long. And I know we're coming close to our first break, so I'll try to make it short if I can. Pass interference flag should have been thrown. You could have also, in addition to that, got him for hitting a defenseless receiver. Either one would have worked in that situation. Both could have happened. I mean, he never turned around to the ball to play the ball, as BKP said. And also the fact that, he hit him 3 seconds before the ball got there.
Yeah.
It was just pretty flagrant. I think it was one of those, here's my opportunity to hurt a guy.
Right.
I hate to say that. I don't know the player. Of course, obviously I've never met him, and I don't want to try to read his mind, but there's no way an NFL professional football player, and he's good enough to make the team, so he's an excellent athlete and knows the game, to do something that ridiculous, in my opinion. He's very fortunate.
Right.
The Rams are very fortunate. That's all you can say.
And the crazy thing is, if he's playing the ball, if he turns his head around, it's probably there's a lot of probablys that we assume, but he turns his head around and plays the ball, it might be a pick six, because he got there so early. He would have intercepted that ball if he'd have been playing it, and there was nobody in front of him. If you're looking, at the replay down the sideline, he probably takes that ball to the house, and the Rams may have ended up winning it anyway.
Right.
So there's a lot of things there, and that's just my point. You can't assume that these things are going to happen. Yeah, they're probably going to happen, but we don't know what's going to happen. And with Sean Payton being aggressive as he is, maybe on first down, the next play, there's still, minute 45 left. They might go ahead and score on that next play instead of just running it. The Rams may not stop them. Right. The clock may not run. There may have still been a minute and a half left in the game. Even the Saints may have scored a touchdown. The Rams would have had to score a touchdown instead of hitting a field goal. But there's a lot of things, and that was my point to it, is that yes, that play or no call, if you will define that game in a lot of ways for Saints fans, because the Saints didn't go on to win that game. Well, but if the Saints, if they win the toss in the overtime like they did, and they go down and they score a touchdown to win the game like the Patriots did in their game, then all of a sudden that call, it's terrible. People are still going to be talking about it today, but it softens the blow a little bit, But because the Saints didn't win the game, we're going to have to listen to that. We're going to have to go back to that call. And that's going to be the ultimate reason why they didn't win the game. And it's unfortunate. It is, but it is what it is.
Well, let's take the entire second half, the bad call, overtime. Let's take that completely out of the picture. 3 field goals in the first half, when you were down there close. Yeah. You had the opportunity.
And here's my thing, and I said this to somebody. I said, Sean Payton, in a lot of ways, his arrogance, to me, got in the way because – there were a couple times in that ball game, and you saw it, where they split Breeze out wide, and they bring in Taysom Hill, and they run RPO or do different things. And sometimes, to me, he gets a little too cute. offensively. I'm like, okay, this is the NFC Championship game. I would rather have the ball in the hands of my all-star, future Hall of Fame quarterback taking snaps than splitting him out as a decoy and letting someone else run my offense, which, by the way, none of those plays worked, really in the ball game. So to me, I think there were moments in that game yesterday where I think his arrogance and some of the things that they've done got in the way of them being able to make plays in critical moments in that ball game. But like you said, 2 field goals on the opening drives, they should have never been in that position in the first place. I know people are going to talk about this call, and that's all they're going to talk about, and that is the play that I know is going to define this game. But at the same time, I don't think that was the end-all, be-all of this game. I think there's a lot of other things that happened that materialized even after that play when the Saints had ample opportunities to win the game even after that play.
Right. And jumping to the AFC game and talking about getting cute, in that game, now the Patriots did win, like you said, but, same thing with Belichick. It's a close ball game. The Patriots are coming down, and they do a flea flicker.
Right.
Edelman, probably, honestly, one of the greatest tight ends in the history of the game. I mean, he's your go-to guy for the Patriots.
Yeah.
Tony Romo was saying last night, he said, okay, what the Patriots need to do is they need to put someone in motion, bring Edelman across the middle, and let Brady hit him. Very next play, that's exactly what they did. And,
right.
Every time they needed to pick up that first down, they threw to him. One flea flicker, if they would have just threw to Edelman, they may have scored early.
Right.
And there you go, the assumptions. And, of course, BKP and yourself was talking about leaving the Rams a minute and a half. It's possible if they go down and score. And he said, well, you can't predict that. Tom Brady did just that.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then Mahomes with 30 seconds or whatever he had,
3 plays,
came back and got them into field goal range. And by the way, all the kickers yesterday and all the games were clutch. I don't think we saw a miss. It was kind of refreshing that everybody hit the field goals or extra points. Right. It didn't come down to a kicking mistake. In fact, Butker hits the field goal to put it into overtime. Hecker obviously is a hero in LA this morning, hitting one to put it into overtime and then a 57-yarder to win it right down the middle. It would have been good from 65.
Well, and talking about we was talking about Gurley and Michelle and everything being that local connection as well as McVay. Butker, Georgia Tech.
Yep.
Another one that stepped up in that level and performed 57-yard field goal there at the end and could have very easily been made from probably 70.
Oh, that's he had hit the back of the net going through. Yeah.
I'm not a Patriots fan. I'm not a Saints fan. I'm not really a Rams fan.
Right.
But, I am a Falcons fan as you are, and I'm definitely going to be pulling for the Rams just because of McVay and, Gurley.
Yep.
Michelle done a great job, and I hope he has a good ball game, of course, but I'm still pulling for the Rams. Now, would I predict anything? No, I won't, because you can't predict against Brady. You never know.
And we'll talk about it a little bit next week on the program right here. Super Bowl, of course, in Atlanta. That's one of the reasons why we are talking about it, because it is going to be here this year in Atlanta. And so the Rams and Patriots, it's set. We're going to go ahead and move on. We've spent enough time on it. But again, a lot of folks, of course, checking in on it there. A lot of Georgia connections, as Luther just mentioned. Sean McVay, product of Marist High School. He was a state quarterback. State champion quarterback. Todd Gurley, obviously, we know. Sony Michel for the Patriots, of course, coming in and doing a great job this year. And the Patriots also have 5 former Bulldogs overall, and the Rams have a couple as well. So, again, a lot of guys, a lot of local guys will be featured back in their hometown in their home state. So it should be a lot of fun. We'll go ahead and take a commercial break. When we return, we're going to transition to the mat. That's right, the state championship wrestling duels this past weekend down in Macon. All that and more straight ahead. Stay with us.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair, and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Circuit World, with multiple locations to serve you in Murphy and Franklin, North Carolina, Blairsville, Blue Ridge, and Ellen, Georgia. Locally owned and operated since 1985. Appliances, electronics, and furniture. Name brand products like LG, Samsung, Dell, Whirlpool, Ashley, Catnapper, and more. No credit check, only 10% down on furniture, and only $10 down on any new lease purchase. Mention FYN 10 for your special deal today at Circuit World.
We're more than just $5 medium one-topping pizzas, stuffed garlic knots, breadsticks, bone-out wings, pasta, and new Cinnabon mini rolls. We're the $5 lineup with the best sides for your pizza.
$5 each.
Choose 2 or more, $5 each. No one out-pizzas the Hut.
Back here on the instant replay, I'm your host Dave Garner, and joining me now is Team FYN Sports Luther Kinsey right here. And I don't know if anyone out there notices a difference, but there's just something a little different about Luther this morning, and I'll let you guys see if you can pick it up at home.
Can I do the rest of the segment like this?
Yeah, if you want to. No, it looks good, but a guy that I said resembles Dan Quinn, and some comparisons to Billy Bob Thornton, if we show up some pictures, which we may have to do. The goatee is gone. It's missing this morning, man. Look at that. Smooth.
Well,
all the way around.
I would like to inform you that I had a birthday.
Okay.
I'm 51 and I just turned 35.
Perfect. So there we go.
You get rid of the gray, new look, new year.
It's a baby-faced Luther Kinsey joining us right here on the instant replay. So
now. It is smooth.
We're going to jump into high school ball. We were debating during the break about running backs and players. See, now we've gotten into all this NFL talk. See, BK, it's his fault.
It is.
He doesn't like the NFL, and I understand a lot of people are like BKP, and I've lost a lot of my love for it, obviously, with all the kneeling and this, that, and the other we've talked about over the years. But he came in and routed us up and threw the flag. It's his fault. So we've continued that discussion. But talking about different running backs, talking about different people. But it's a lot of fun, though. It's a lot of fun to compare and get people's opinions.
Well, I do want to add one thing, and I thought about mentioning it earlier where we were discussing it when BKP, and I changed my mind quick. The biggest social media blast, I guess you would say, about the Super Bowl is going to be the halftime show.
Right.
There are so many people asking all the performers to take a knee.
Right.
And I'm like, really? It's died back down. Everybody's playing football. No one's kneeling. They're just going out. They're doing their job. They're being paid for, and then somebody wants to bring this up and get it started.
Right, yeah.
So, I'm not a fan of the halftime show this year anyway, personally.
Right.
If I see it, I probably won't watch the second half either. Because
right,
NFL and the Super Bowl committee should not allow that. Now let's move on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sorry,
and for those that are keeping count, Maroon 5 and Travis Scott are the halftime show. I'm not sure. I think maybe Gladys Knight, singing the national anthem being Atlanta native. So anyway, enough of that. Let's talk about some high school wrestling right here. Again, the Gilmer Bobcats were among the local teams that were down in Macon over the weekend competing for state championships. And I tell you what, it was a great tournament overall. If you've ever been to a traditional or a duals wrestling tournament, or if you haven't, I guess I should say, you really need to try to at least make it a bucket list item one year, because there's nothing like seeing 8, 10, 12 different mats, on the floor. I remember, they've done it in Macon for years. They had it over at Gwinnett Arena for several years, which I think has a different name now. But and it's just a lot of fun. I mean, every mat full the whole day. It's a lot of fun. Even if you don't understand the sport, it's just a neat atmosphere to see that many teams and that many schools represented in one building, because you have all the schools, that are qualifiers that are there at one time. And Coach Josh Gobadapor's Bobcats went in as the number 1 seeded team in 4A. And Coach G was supposed to be on the show with us this morning. Obviously, with the holiday and everything going on, he had some other personal commitments. So we're hoping to have Coach on maybe in the following weeks. We may wait till after the traditional tournament to get him on. But the Bobcats, to make a long story short, won their first several matches, got into the championship, and I'll let Luther, you go back and talk a little bit about this, but the Cats, to make a long story short, do fall 37-33 to Woodward Academy for the state championship. But the Gilmer Bobcats, with a runner-up finish, still a great season. They still have the traditionals, so this is not the end of the season. Heartbreaking loss in the championship after winning matches against Cairo, Perry, semifinal match. They ended up beating Central Carroll. So just a great tournament overall. The Bobcats fall just points short of their 18th state championship.
And I'll tell you, the excitement was there. They had a good following, the fans down. Of course, National Federation High School broadcast these events kind of through a pay-per-view thing. Had several people from all over the United States watching our Bobcats down there and compete. Pretty much dominated Cairo, 60-17.
Right.
Had 10 pins in that, so 10 falls there. So that was really good, dominating performance. Second round, they had Perry, 44-22. A little closer, but still a dominating win for the Cats. The semifinal against Central Carrollton was kind of a carbon copy of a few weeks ago. At a local duals tournament, I believe it was the one hosted by the Bobcats. Real close match. Came down to the very last match between the two wrestlers. Mm-hmm. And just a great action-packed match. And they won in the final minutes, I guess you could say that, but with a pin. So this one repeated that that event there at Central Carrollton, led most of the time, 3 or 4 points here, 4 or 5 points there. It just went back and forth. And Forrest Todd needed a pin to win. And he rolled the gentleman up in a cradle and, got his back points, which, for those who don't know wrestling, is once you get the wrestler over on his back, the official will start counting. Mm-hmm. If he's on his back for so long, they give you back points or 3 points or
near
2
fall
points
or some people call them,
So if you're watching high school wrestling in the future and you see him do this, he will hold up, near pin, 2 points, or near pin, 3 points.
Depending on how long he has them in a compromising, almost pin position, but not quite pin, you'll get those back points or near fall points.
So he got those to bring it a little closer, and then that pin is what counted. You get 6 points for a pin, and that put the Bobcats up on the win there.
Right.
Really excited to get him to the finals. You cannot wipe the smile off of Forrest Todd's face.
Right.
And it was amazing to watch the excitement of these athletes and just really their drive for that state title. Mm-hmm. Woodward Academy, as you said, in the finals was a really tough match. They've got former state champions. They have freshmen that's wrestled since they were 5.
Right.
And one of them was number 2 in the nation as a freshman in high school in these, non-high school tournaments, of course, through USA Wrestling and some others. So really, really good athletes. Last year, Woodward Academy was kind of the thorn in their side again, So, and here they are doing it again this year. There's comments down there, not only from, Gilmer coaches, but also from other coaches that were watching from different classifications.
Right.
One of the comments that was made was, this is a real hard pill to swallow. Mm-hmm. Came in,
top of their game, competing at the best they could be at that moment, peaking at the right time, as we mentioned a few weeks ago, and it just fell short by those 4 points.
Yeah.
And mathematically, Gilmer was out of it in the second to the last match.
Mm-hmm.
And Caleb Waddell was the last match of the day, 170 class, and Woodward chose to just give him the forfeit points, get the win by forfeit, which a lot of people, of course, other coaches as well, one of them said, did I really just see that? That's so disrespectful.
Right.
You know, yes, Gilmer couldn't win at that point, but let the guys compete.
Right, yeah.
You know,
that's what they're there
because
for.
I talked to him, and he was from a 1A classification, and he said, I cannot believe they just did that. It's just total disrespect.
Yeah.
You know, and I can agree with that as a reporter and as a person. You let the young men compete. That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
But tough duels tournament for them. A lot of disappointment, a lot of tears amongst the athletes, as it could be expected. But they're not done.
Right. That's
done.
the thing. Yeah.
They are not done. And coach will not let them give up. These guys will not give up. A lot of seniors. This was their last duels.
Right.
You know.
And a lot of times, the duels kind of mirror, from a team standpoint, the traditionals a little bit. So I would expect that here in a couple short weeks or what have you, you're going to have a situation where it could very well be, when you're looking at those standings. Because even though the duels is a team competition and the traditional is more of the individual, there is still a team championship, because the points that your individuals get add up to a team championship, and that's what decides. So there's still the team element in the traditionals if you're not familiar with wrestling. So you have a feeling that Woodward Academy, Gilmer, maybe a couple other teams obviously will be in the mix, but could very well come down to them again in the final standings, even though they may never wrestle head-to-head necessarily. Who knows?
Right, and I foresee some individual matchups head-to-head.
Yeah.
I really do. Gilmer's got high-quality, state championship quality caliber athletes, just like Windward, and, of course, several other schools in 4A as well. But it's, for me, my first year really covering Gilmer, I could have easily had tears in my eyes because I was pulling so hard for the guys. I had one athlete, and I won't bring up his name, but after it was over, had tears rolling down his face, and I tried to give him an encouraging word, of course. And he just threw his arms around me and hugged me. He says, "Thank you, and thank y'all for being here and supporting us and covering us." And that's when I almost lost it.
Absolutely,
That lets me know what we're doing with Team FYN Sports is not only just highlighting them, it's impacting them.
Absolutely.
So I look forward to going back down. 14 weight classes, if I understand it right. So you're looking possibly 14 more Gilmer wrestlers going down.
There you go.
To compete, and I'm really excited. Hopefully BKP will let me go back down.
Right.
But,
Lumpkin County, Brian Matthews, very proud of his team. The Indians competed in the AAA as well, and Lumpkin again finishing 6th overall as a team as they went 3-2 during the state duels there. So congratulations once again to the Lumpkin County Indians, who are well on their way potentially to a state championship over the next year or two. Coach Matthews, again, very complimentary, very proud of his team and the way that they competed over the weekend. So several local wrestlers and teams competing this past weekend.
Right, and Lumpkin's, they're probably 50-50, junior, senior, freshman, sophomore. They're young as these guys, these younger underclassmen, mature more on the mats and all that. They're going to pick up where these seniors and juniors who have all the experience left off. So they're going to be in making a lot over the next several years.
Right.
I'm going to cover while we're talking about wrestling real quick, and I know we're about ready for another break, but we're going to mention Pickens. Pickens finished 4th in the region. Just, of course, they take the top 2. Excellent program. They're well on their way to getting there in the duels. They're going to show up and, make a real good showing in the traditionals.
Right.
As they always do. We got Fannin. Fannin's going to step up. They're growing and getting better every year. Dawson and most of the schools in our coverage area are really starting to step up that game. I talked with the commerce coach down there, and he says, and I told him was there to cover Gilmer. Of course, being from Gainesville and a former football official, I know most of those guys because we covered football for years. He said that him and some of his other parents were thinking about it on the way down, or after they got there, and they were sitting around eating in motel rooms and talking, things like that. North Georgia is the hub of high school wrestling in now. This area. Of course, he said Commerce, state champion.
Right.
Jefferson, state champion.
Yeah.
Buford finished 2nd. Right. North Hall finished 2nd.
Elbert County finished second.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all this whole North Georgia area is right there on the cusp.
Right.
And, you know, it's going to be an exciting
Yeah.
years ahead to watch wrestling
Absolutely.
in the North Georgia area.
Yeah. And we're up against a break, but real quick, again, for complete coverage of this year's state wrestling, tell folks where they can find all your coverage, because I know you've got a lot of pictures and things that are coming, and we just kind of touch on the highlights right here in the show because we only have an hour. But you can follow us on social media, and you can check out highlights and things as well.
Yeah, Team FYN Sports, all the pictures. I've got probably 300 pictures of the Lumpkin wrestlers from down there. And, of course, being able to cover Gilmer more and being the Gilmer reporter, I have approximately, close to 1,000 pictures up on Team FYN Sports Facebook. Just go down, click on the albums, and you'll see it. It's labeled Lumpkin State Tournament, Gilmer State Finals, and that nature. You can also read the article on Gilmer. It will be up later today due to some computer issues. But you can find that at gilmerfetchernews.com, and it will be shared over on Facebook as well.
Yep. And be sure to check out all of our social media sites as well. Again, you can follow us on YouTube, but be sure to subscribe to Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Again, Team FYN Sports. Always going after it if it happens in North Georgia. We're all over it, as we say. Make sure you do follow us on those, and also subscribe and follow us on YouTube at FYN TV. Fetch your news. Again, we are here for you, and go ahead and check out all those things for all the latest in local sports. So let's go ahead and take a time out. When we return, we'll transition to the Hardwood Region Basketball. We're going to dive into it next.
The leaves aren't the only thing falling in Jasper. The prices are falling too at Days Chevrolet. Now during the model year end clearance, get huge savings up to $14,000 off Chevy Silverado Crew Cab and save up to $7,000 off new Chevy Cruze. The prices are falling on every 2018 Chevy in stock during the model year end clearance. Going on now at Days Chevrolet in Jasper, where new Chevys always cost less.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
At Ingalls, we have a very special family. A family of farmers, ranchers, and dairymen. Clerks, butchers, and bakers. Deli workers, pharmacists, and florists. We work hard every day to bring you the very best. And we'll continue to wake up every morning and work as hard as you do. This is our town, and we built this community together. Ingalls, your neighbor for over 50 years.
At Pizza Hut, we're more than just $5 medium one-topping pizzas. Whoa, wait, medium pizzas? For $5? And all these sides, only $5? I'm speechless. The new $5 lineup, because no one out-pizzas the Hut.
Having a lot of fun today here on the program. Appreciate you guys being with us. This is the Instant Replay right here on FYNTV.com. Team FYN Sports proudly presenting the program here. With us from Team FYN Sports is Luther Kinsey, as always. I'm Dave Garner. Josh behind the glass today as well. BKP even with a little cameo in our first segment talking about NFL. Just got through talking about some high school wrestling. Again, state championships from over the weekend down in Macon. My phone's blowing up here. I'm trying to figure out what's going on over here. Make sure no one's trying to get me some show notes or anything. So we check our phones as we go here. Right. Matter of fact, we came across a picture that if you want to text it to him, see if he can pop it up. I don't know if he can do that or not, but we'll figure that out.
I'm not that familiar with all the in-depth little spots of Instagram.
Okay.
But if you want to, chat it out.
Well, we were talking about the picture that Todd Gurley put up, and Josh, I don't know if you can pull up Instagram or not. I may not be able to do that, but there was a picture on Todd Gurley's Instagram that was funny last night after the game. You know how that nowadays the trend is after the games, the NFL players or NBA players, they exchange jerseys. Like the players exchange jerseys because they collect each other's jerseys. And there was one with Todd Gurley. He was it had been obviously photoshopped, but showing him exchanging jerseys with the referee. He was holding a referee jersey, and they photoshopped the referee's head on the other guy holding the Todd Gurley jersey. So anyway, if look up Todd Gurley's Instagram if you want to see that picture. But I thought it was
TG.
Yeah, TG 400
HUNNID.
Yeah.
Go check out that picture.
Go check out that picture. It's pretty funny, so we'll have to figure that out. Let's talk high school basketball. Again, we're already running out of time. The show had so much fun here today. We're going to talk about the boys in the fourth segment to kind of wrap up the show because there were some very tight races there. But in 6-4A, especially on the girls' side, and last week we talked a lot about the Dragons and Dragonettes. Girls basketball, 6-4A right now. Northwest Whitfield, these are region records at 9-1. Gilmer at 7-2. Heritage at 7-3 with one more game played, and Pickens at 6-3. So basically 2, 3, and 4, the top 4 spots, are separated by a game, essentially in the standings right now. Gilmer and Pickens, Tuesday night at Gilmer. That's going to be a big game as we talked about in our first segment, as Luther pointed out. Pickens then at Northwest on Friday. A win by Pickens helps the Lady Cats really in that one. But let's try to make sense of all this because things are going to play out this week and the playoff picture is going to become a little bit clearer, but it's going to come down to the final game, it looks like, regular season game here over this next week or so.
It is, and Gilmer's last game happens to be against Northwest.
Right.
So, we were talking earlier about, the Lady Dragons or the Nets being at Gilmer to root for Heritage.
Right.
If it was possible, I believe the Lady Cats would be, I don't know if I'd push it this far, but they should be at Northwest when Pickens plays them, pulling for Pickens.
Right, yeah.
Like I said, I don't know if that'll happen, but they are friends, and there were...
The battle lines have been drawn, so, we'll see how it goes.
There were a lot of apologies,
right.
from the Nets to the Lady Cats that night, hey, sorry.
It wasn't anything personal, but...
Sorry, I got to pull against you, but this is why,
Right.
And I could see the Lady Cats, honestly, they're a great bunch of girls. They would be there pulling for Pickens if they could. And I'm not sure the scheduling of it 100%. But it is. It's going to come down to it. Gilmer is 7-2, I'm sorry, of course, with Northwest at the top. If Gilmer wins out and Northwest just drops a game.
Right.
And then, of course, Northwest loses to Gilmer, they're going to take... not really the head-to-head unless somebody else can knock them off.
Right, yeah.
Because Northwest did beat Gilmer earlier in the year. And, of course, when it head-to-head, if it's even out, I don't know how they do it, if they go by points.
Right.
Or points allowed, points scored, or what to determine that if they end up in a tie. But it's definitely the most interesting region we have right now.
Yeah.
There's a little more separations in some of the other the other regions around the area. But this one's going to come down to the wire.
Yeah.
And Coach Nunn's got her girls on fire and ready.
She does. She does. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's talk about 7 AAA for a minute. The Dawson County, we've talked a lot about the Lady Tigers this year and the Lumpkin County Lady Indians, which right now, those two teams 3 and 4 respectively in the region standings. The Lady Indians can crash the party a little bit. 3 of their last 4 games are against teams in front of them. So Dawson County has 2 of their last 4 with Lumpkin and North Hall. They control their own destiny at this point as the season winds down with the region tournament looming. But a lot of things are happening. And then you have White County there in the mix as well. So, again, you've got Marist, I guess, at 2. And you've got Flowery Branch right now that's basically 9-0. It doesn't look like they're going to be caught, but that's very competitive 7 AAA right now too.
It is. You know, Flyer Branch has stepped up. Being from Gainesville in the past, I've seen a lot of Flyer Branch over the years, and they are very well coached, very disciplined when it comes to their play on the court. You know, 9-0 record in region proves that. They're a very strong team, and they can't be caught.
Right.
I tried to do the math a little bit last night and figure out scenarios, and Flyer Branch cannot be caught. You know,
Right.
I mean, even if they lose their remaining games, you know, they're going to be 9-4, I believe, in region. But at the same time, they've beat the teams,
Right.
even in a tie situation. They've beat the teams with, if the criteria is the way I was mentioning just a moment ago, to still come out #1 in region.
Right,
So,
right. And you know, you don't have the traditional, not every region has the traditional region tournaments that we always have for basketball, because we had a lot more teams in regions years ago. But now with all the 7 classifications that we have, there are some regions that have 5, 6, 7 teams. So, you know, not every region necessarily plays that traditional region tournament like we used to have. Some are already in it mathematically, this, that, and the other. Everybody does something a little bit different. The state basically just says, hey, we need 4 teams on this date, and it's up to the regions to determine how they get there. In Region 6 3A, Murray County may be on the outside looking in. We're still talking girls. The Lady Mountaineers of North Murray, though, right now in the top 4. I think they're currently 3rd. So, again, a lot going on there as well in that Region 6.
yeah,
It'll be interesting.
And that's an interesting region as well. You know, you've got Coahulla Creek.
Ringgold, I think, is over there. Yeah.
Ringgold, Coahulla Creek. Calhoun, I believe, is in that one.
Sonoraville, maybe.
Sonoraville, yeah, Sonoraville's in it. You know, so that's a really stout region as well. Everybody's playing good ball over there. The Lady Indians from Murray, you know, if they do the non-traditional, as you were just mentioning, basically no tournament.
Right.
They have to win.
Right, yeah.
To move
They're
up.
kind of on that. They're about that 5th
Yeah.
spot right now. One
Right.
one out.
One
yeah.
out. So, you know, and I mean, and they've struggled a little bit this year, but you know, they've still played good ball, beat some good teams. But if they do the tournament, they've got a chance.
Right.
You know, in that tournament, anybody can win on any given night.
Sure.
So it's you know, pulling for them. Hopefully they'll have that tournament, and I'll be researching that more as we get in toward the end of the season.
Right.
But hopefully they can do it. But North Murray's on fire.
Yeah.
You know,
They're in good
they're a
position
very
right
good
now.
team.
10-3, 1 game behind Coahulla Creek.
Right.
A couple games left to play.
They're in 3rd.
Yep. Meanwhile, across state lines, the Murphy Lady Bulldogs right now, they're a little over halfway through their season. They're 12-4 right now, and they're off to a great start. 3rd in the region at 5-2. Again, half their losses have come in the region, so they have slipped a little bit. But the regular season comes to a close on February 25th, a little bit later in North Carolina than we're seeing here in Georgia. So we'll continue to track Murphy, the Lady Bulldogs' progress, and the Bulldog boys as well. We'll talk a little bit about the boys here in our final segment. But again, a lot of girls basketball being played. Still plenty to be played this week and on into next week as we close out the regular seasons. Keep it right here on the Instant Replay and all of our Team FYN sports media and social media as we keep you in tune with what's going on right here. Fetcher News, the place to be. We're going to go ahead and take a quick time out. When we return, we're going to wrap up the show today talking a little bit about the boys' region tournaments and region standings and what's going on that side. All that and more straight ahead. Stay with us.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Circuit World, with multiple locations to serve you in Murphy and Franklin, North Carolina, Blairsville, Blue Ridge, and Ellen, Georgia. Locally owned and operated since 1985. Appliances, electronics, and furniture. Name brand products like LG, Samsung, Dell, Whirlpool, Ashley, Catnapper, and more. No credit check, only 10% down on furniture, and only $10 down on any new lease purchase. Mention FYN 10 for your special deal today at Circuit World.
We're more than just $5 medium one-topping pizzas, stuffed garlic knots, breadsticks, bone-out wings, pasta, and new Cinnabon mini rolls. We're the $5 lineup with the best sides for your pizza.
$5 each.
Choose 2 or more, $5 each. No one out-pizzas the Hut.
Back here on the Instant Replay, Dave Garner, Luther Kinsey with you right here as we continue on, and we're getting ready to jump into the boys to wrap up a few minutes we have left right here on the program, talking about boys basketball, high school-wise. Before we do that, we had some good chatter, though, during the break earlier in the show about college hoops, and I want to bring in Josh, man, our director behind the glass. You know, he's a big Georgia Southern fan, as we know, sports fan, but, you know, he's kind of quiet, so sometimes we have to drag him into this. He tries to stay out of it, you know, especially when BKP gets involved, but college hoops, though, man, I mean, we were talking about it earlier.
Bo knows baseball. Bo knows football. Josh knows sports.
Right, yeah.
He is probably the biggest fan of all the sports across the board, and you know, and he knows everything about not just his team, but other teams. So I'm anxious to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, what happened over the weekend? I know we're talking about, you know, a lot of the top, you know, I know Michigan went down, previous unbeaten. So, you know, we're talking about who's going to be the next, you know, number one, this, that, and the other. What are your thoughts on that?
It's looking like Tennessee is going to take the top spot, mostly because, you know, you had number one Duke go down a week ago.
Right.
They did beat Virginia on Saturday, which was a number 14, so that gives them a little bit of a boost back. But Michigan went down to Wisconsin. Tennessee held off Alabama. And even though Alabama's not ranked, you know, rivalry games, they're always close.
Right. And they've been competitive. I mean, yeah, and Auburn and Alabama, traditionally, not basketball-wise, but Auburn's been pretty good the last couple of years, and Bama's been right there with them. So
yeah, so it's looking like Tennessee, they got their sixth man back a couple weeks ago, and they've been on fire ever since. So it's looking like they're going to take the number one spot, and it's really theirs to lose at this point.
Right. Yeah, and, you know, I mean, at this point, it's kind of like you said, it's kind of about attrition. It's basically who's winning, you know, and who's losing right now. Teams are swapping places, as we all know with basketball. It's one of those things where you're pretty much just positioning yourself for a run. You know, March Madness, you want to try to make as deep a run in your conference tournament as you can, but Tennessee, you know, very athletic. You know, when you think SEC basketball, you think Kentucky, obviously, but Tennessee's one of those teams that's really right on the cusp of doing some really good things. So,
well, you know, and talking about you want to make a good run in your conference tournament, you know, with the selection committee picking 64, you don't want to be that random pick.
Right, that's got to make it in.
You want to be your conference champion or right there, you know, close, and stay in really probably in the top 35.
Right.
You know, overall all year to be able to get in that round of 64.
Right.
And that's the only time I really watch college hoops is I'll start watching it during the March Madness tournament and a few conference channels, but. Josh was mentioning Tennessee looks like it's going to be the new number one. That's a big move for them.
That's definitely a big move for them.
They've been down several years. The ladies program, of course, we know that was the top program in the country for many years, and the boys can get up there and they can make a run to put their name on the
Even
list
the
as
UConn
well.
women have lost a game or two this year, which is very, obviously hadn't done that in a few years during the regular season anyway. So let's talk about boys basketball. We've got about 5 minutes left or less. So 6AA right now. North Murray boys 11-2. They're leading the region right now with games against LFO, Ringgold, and Sonoraville to close out the regular season. I tell you what, Mountaineers are sitting pretty good right now, and they're going to be fun to watch in 6AA. Let me just run through these real quick, and then we'll circle back around. 7 AAA, Coach Chad Pittman and his Dawson County Tigers. They're 6-2 right now as the number 2 seed, basically, if things ended today. Their last 4 games are against teams that are 500 or less, so their schedule favors them going into this stretch run. They have GAC in front of them, who's 8-0 right now. It's going to be hard to catch them, but they do have a shot at number 1. And then over in 4A, as we were talking about, we talked about the Gilmer girls just a moment ago, and of course playing Pickens on Tuesday night. The Gilmer boys right now 6-3, but they're right there. I believe they're the 2 or 3. I guess the 2 seed right now, right behind Lafayette, who is 20-1 after their win over Pickens on Friday night, although the Dragons played them tough. Lafayette's a team that is beatable. Southeast beat them earlier in the year, Southeast Whitfield, a team that Gilmer, of course, beat on that buzzer beater that we saw there. But Coach Heiss has his guys playing good basketball right here at the end of the season. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. They've got a few must-win games if they want to catch Lafayette for the top spot. But this is another region that's pretty tight right now.
It is. And, of course, they've still got a big game with Lafayette.
Right.
And last year, compare the two teams real quick, Gilmer this year and Gilmer last year. Last year, Coach Heiss was putting up, kind of throwing the gauntlet down to him, said, hey, you win 15 games, I'll shave my head.
Right.
Well, they're already sitting at 15 and still got games to go.
That's because they were going to have to shave their head if they didn't win 15.
That is what I heard. I heard that.
That's why that happened. But
I mean, I would have went undefeated. Well, not me.
I was going to say, yeah.
But,
it didn't happen.
Well, I would have went undefeated if they told me I had to grow it.
There we go. How about that?
But, it is a very tight region. Gilmer boys have stepped up. The whole Gilmer basketball program has stepped up this year and played amazing basketball. Lafayette's going to be tough.
Yeah.
They're starting to taste it, so to speak.
Right.
And I don't know if anybody can beat them the rest of the year, but Gilmer's going to put up a fight with them, no doubt. But the game this Tuesday against Pickens. Yeah. Yes, Pickens is like 3-14 or something like that. Throw the record out the window.
I was going to say, yeah. And their dynamic has changed tremendously over the last couple of weeks, as we mentioned, with Hunter Herman returning to the lineup. They're a different team. I mean, they played Lafayette the other night. I think it was a 10-point ball game, but the Dragons led by 10 after the first quarter. They kind of came out and shocked Lafayette a little bit, and then they got on a little bit of a run, but they could never put Pickens away. So it's a different Dragon team, too.
It is.
Than the last time Gilmer played
Hunter
them.
Herman, Zach Goss, Seth
Bishop.
Seth Bishop, just got his thousanth point recently, for his high school career. Great athletes on that team, and they are coming together. Coach Duffy. It takes a while when you bring in a new coach for the guys to kind of get on board with you.
Right. Gel, chemistry, and all that.
And he has a total different coaching style.
Right.
When he hollers, it is preceded by the boot stomp.
Right, yeah.
And when he stomps that
and if
boot,
you haven't heard the boot stomp,
he will sit there, and right before he hollers a play out, or if he's frustrated because one of the players, didn't run the play like it was designed, he will stomp his boot down real hard on the floor. And, of course, on the gym floor, it's going to echo.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I had 14 heart attacks the first game I watched him coach. It scared me every time. I cannot lie. But that's going to be the big game there. Throw it out. Throw the records out the window. It's a must-win for Gilmer. It's a much-needed win for Pickens to continue their mindset moving forward. But it's going to be a great
lot
region.
Of fun. And we're out of time basically on this week's show, but I do want to mention one thing. That I was talking to Donna Enos, of course, former Dragonette coach, who of course spent many years in Cartersville, and she said whenever Duffy being at Dalton would come over, they would actually put down a little carpet a little mat where they knew he was going to kind of be on the sideline because the boots, he'd scuff up the floor a little bit. They had to put down a little extra padding there whenever they knew Duffy was coming to town. But anyway, it should be a lot of fun if you can get out to that ball game on Tuesday night, do it, or any of our ball games. North Murray, again, as we talk about with the great season going as well on the boys' side. And that's going to wrap things up for us this week.
I'm going to have to pass that little carpet over to Coach Heiss, the guys.
Right, there you go. Yeah, put it. Yeah, exactly.
And one real quick note, I know we got to go. RJ Casey, I know you're watching. Get ready, son.
It's going to be a head-to-head Team FYN sports battle on Tuesday night between this guy and RJ, man. I tell you what, I think RJ will be ready for you, though. I'm not going to lie.
RJ's always ready for me.
Right,
He tweets back and forth. He's always wearing his green. He'll look at me and say, so who's going to win tonight? And I'm like, who do you think? And he'll say Pickens.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, you need to wake up from that dream. So we give each other a hard time. Love RJ to
a lot of fun.
Pieces. Thank you, RJ, for the great coverage you do down there in Pickens. And also, the other night, while I was in Macon, Gilmer won.
Right.
RJ is messaging me through text
Yeah.
the results and the region standings and talking about the implications between Pickens and Gilmer and how close it could be. And actually wished us good luck.
There we go.
Not going to happen, but good luck. And I was like, well, thanks, RJ. I really appreciate you.
Good stuff. Well, we are out of time this week. Appreciate everyone being on with us. BKP chiming in early. Again, Josh behind the glass is our director as always. And Luther Kinsey, again, at Team FYN Sports, joining us out here without the goatee today. But it'll be back pretty soon, I'm sure, at some point there. Next week, again, we will have an update from the Gilmer Pickens games, all of our local area basketball. And, of course, we'll talk a little bit more about wrestling as well and whatever else is going on in the world of sports. You name it, the Instant Replay is the place to be. Because if it happens in North Georgia, we're all over it. We'll see you next week.